And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to what shapes up to be a beautiful view of a Falcon 9 on the pad with the Starlink 12-11 mission scheduled to launch just 56 minutes from now. My name is Adrian Bile. I'm your host for today's mission, and we have, honestly, one of the best views we have seen in a long time for this pad. Let's introduce everybody that is on today's cast, starting with Alex. Alex, I have a deja vu. We are once again talking about Starlink together.
Yeah, at least it's a different pad, right? It's 39A. It's not pad 40. So different view, different angle, and different rocket as well. We're probably going to talk about that as well.
Yeah, it's everything has changed, but everything is still the same. Speaking of things that are still the same, Max in the field. Max, how's it going?
Good morning, everybody. I guess it's the same. I mean, Dee and I are out here per usual. Oh, spoiler alert, Dee's also here. But good morning, everybody. Yeah, it is weather is beautiful. Conditions are nice, but I have to say it is quite chilly this morning, so we are quite bundled up. But that means conditions, at least visual conditions out toward 39A are nice and crisp this morning. So looking forward to seeing what that brings, hopefully in just under an hour.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And also, Dee, do we have you on comms as well?
You sure do. As Max said, it is a chilly morning out here, but there is a rocket on the pad, and it is always a good day when there is a rocket on the pad getting ready to launch.
And that is the case 55 minutes from now. I want to quickly establish what is chilly in Florida terms.
Well, to be fair, when I left the house this morning to get over to the Kennedy Space Center, which is where we are set up, it was 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's like what, 8? No,
that's
like 3 or 4
chilly.
C. I think
that's chilly.
Yeah, that's properly chilly, especially for us here in Florida, where we have like next to no winter gear in terms of like coats and pants and everything else. So yeah, right now I think it's warmed up to the lower mid 50s. I'll have to recheck, but it is still pretty chilly out here.
Apple says 53 degrees.
Well, it's warmed up a bit, but it is still quite chilly, especially with the humidity in the air down here being right on the ocean.
Yeah, I think we accept that. Like, I think even outside of Florida terms, that is considered pretty chilly. So
he's cold.
He's cold. Let's hope the Falcon 9 launches on time, so you get out there as fast as you can. Alex, what is launching today?
Well, we have another batch of Starlink satellites, but this one, unlike the one that we covered the other day, carries a mix of V2 mini satellites and direct-to-cell satellites. So this is one of the things that we sort of talked about in that broadcast where, in that case, it was a Group 6 mission, right? And those launch somewhere between 23 to 24 Starlink V2 mini satellites. This one, however, is carrying that mix, as I was saying, of V2 minis and DTCs or direct-to-cell satellites. In particular, it is 13 direct-to-cell satellites and 8 Starlink V2 mini satellites on board. And this is going to go to the southeast, just like the Group 6. One of the tricks that I usually say is that Group 12 is like Group 6, because it's twice, right? But you have 2 types of satellites. So you get 6 times 2, 12. That's group 12. It's a very bad kind of rule, but hey, it might work for some, right? But that's more or less what we have for today. 43-degree inclination orbit, which means this launch is going southeast out of the Cape, just like the Group 6 mission that we covered earlier this week. So hopefully we're going to get some great views as well, because that was nice launch, I think. So
There we go. That's your quick overview. And this is I think for me it's very important to mention this constantly. This might be the last Cape launch before New Glenn. Just saying.
you're jinxing it.
that's-
You just
You-
jinxed it.
Just jinxed it, Adrian. Come on.
You're always doing
Yes,
this, Adrian.
We were in this I think we were in this exact same configuration the last Starlink, and I didn't successfully jinx there, and I won't today. I
think Adrian
Go
I think Adrian mentioned the cursed S word last time, and it didn't end up doing that. I think it's only
I
like
mentioned it 3
one or two.
times.
Yeah, and I guess so. I don't want to knock on wood, knock on something. I guess Adrian must be immune to such commentators' curses. Hopefully, because yeah, it'd be nice if this was the last one. But New Glenn is coming up quick.
Let's test that theory. It would be a shame if this rocket scraps
no.
today. I have said it. Let's test that theory. But with that, if you have any questions about today's rocket or Cape in general or SpaceX in general, make sure to tag at NASA Spaceflight in chat, as we love to answer your questions. So this is also our desire for today's cast. And let me see if we have some questions already. Jason Alexander here wondering, do you think SpaceX will set up the payload adapter on Starship similar to Falcon to transport payloads over when Starship is ready? So like a common SpaceX launch adapter or something? Alex?
Well, I mean, they also need a door for that, right? They need to open the nose cone rather than just that mailbox kind of looking thing, right? Or toaster, as I lately realized, it kind of looks also like a toaster, where you put the slice of bread in, and out comes the the toasted slice of bread. So yeah, like it's sort of like that right now. They need to change that to be able to fit very bulky payloads out of that nose cone. So maybe we'll get a giant door kind of thing, right? We'll see, but that is first and foremost my worry, rather than the payload adapter or anything like it. In any case, sometimes these connections are somewhat common. Like they have, for example, the ESPA or ESPA. I don't really know how, because it's an acronym. It's like the Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle Separation, whatever. Like it's this separation ring that is standard across multiple different big rockets. And so, for example, there's that standard. There's other kinds of standards. So, of course, I can imagine that being carried over to Starship. It's also more or less the reason why some other payloads that were going to be riding on other rockets eventually launched on Falcon 9. They were moving to Falcon 9. So hopefully they can also move those to Starship. We'll see.
You brought it up, so I have to address this now. ESPA is the worst acronym in spaceflight. Because it's an acronym in an acronym. It's because ESPA stands for EELV Secondary Payload Adapter. And then you wonder, what is EELV, right? Because you then have to go there. And that's Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle. So it's the Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle Secondary Stage Payload Adapter.
I have a worse one.
Oh, go ahead.
But I'll tell you once I actually, because it's 3 acronyms stacked on top of each other. So yeah,
but I think it's worse. Like it's bad. Like it's like ELV's really bad, and ESPA. So yeah, that's the current status. And our estimation on payload similarity between them. I mean, we have seen now some Starlink loadings on Starship, so we know how that goes. But yeah,
there we go. I found it on time. So it's the LDPE. Okay, it's a spacecraft sort of name that they've put, and it stands for Long Duration Propulsive EELV Secondary Payload Adapter. So it has EELV And for the ESPA that you just mentioned, right? But now it takes that, it makes another acronym, LDPE. It's like some weird monster of an acronym stack in there. It's the worst. And that kind of spacecraft, it was launched on a couple of Falcon Heavies and Atlas Vs. But yeah, it's from the military, of course, because they like their acronyms and government.
It's certainly an acronym. Okay, let's address something here because people are wondering when Starship, and the answer I think is now Net Monday, based on the latest navigational hazard notices. It's now Monday. D, how you feel about that New Glenn and Starship slipping like away from each other?
You know what? I don't like celebrating slips. It feels like, I don't know, bad karma or something. But in this case, I will take Starship moving a few more days, so long as New Glenn stays exactly where it is.
Which is
That's
a big question mark.
That's a big if. It's a huge
Yeah.
if.
It may be a big if, but if we can have a nice gap, that way we can make it to Texas, get some stuff prepped there, and make it back to Florida afterwards for all the other launches coming out of Florida. Like, I want some separation between these two launches.
You want basically like a proper Miko between both, like a proper stage separation.
No, full on hot stage. Send it.
No, don't hot stage the launches. That would what would that even be? Like a hot staging between launches? That means we finish New Glenn and then like 5 minutes later we start our Starship webcast.
Yes.
No, I think it means that the second stage burn finishes with Glenn at ignition for Starship. So I think even worse.
Oh no, that would be worse. Yeah, that would be bad for us. Let's not even think about this horrible scenario. Like, I know some people are like, yeah, I like to see more rockets fly on the same day, and NSF here be like, yeah, but no.
Like, yeah, but
So yeah, that's the situation with Starship. Of course, make sure to keep everything on socials, and like check our socials on Facebook, Instagram, X, and wherever you will like, and you will get updates once there's updates. So there
Yeah.
you go. Let's see here. Alex, interesting question for you. Why did SpaceX convert this from a Falcon Heavy side booster to a Falcon 9? What changes did it need to undergo?
That's a great question because this one flew on GoSU as a Falcon Heavy side booster, and most recently as a Falcon 9 booster on Starlink Group 12-5. So this is the third flight of booster B1086, and one of the things that we usually think happens is that the next Falcon Heavy launch that might be using these sort of Falcon Heavy side booster is probably quite a bit of a time away, right? So in the meantime, they can use that hardware that it's there. They can just grab it. You can just do things, right? As they say now. And so you can just take that and use it on Falcon 9 launches. And the advantage of that is that you can have another extra booster in rotation, which means you can have a much greater cadence on your flights. And so that is a great thing, especially because recently we have had very old boosters flying as well. There's one already on 24 flights, B1067. There's a few others that are already way past 20. So maybe some of those might need a bit more refurbishment than usual. And so in the meantime, you kind of want some fresh booster on the fleet here and being able to have a much faster cadence. Now, what changes do they need? Well, one of the things that they need, of course, is to remove that nose cone, right? They put a new interstage on top, and that can be produced out at Hawthorne in California. And then, of course, another thing is the hold-down clamps. When it is just a side booster, a Falcon Heavy side booster, they only have 3 of those. And the fourth one is used to sort of clamp together and connect to the center core. That fitting gets replaced, and so the octaweb also needs a bit of a change as well. But largely, that's more or less all they do. Of course, the interstation needs to be fitted with all of the recovery hardware, the grid fins, the pusher systems, and everything. So, of course, it's not just as simple as that, but largely just that in general is what you need to change. The tanks remain the same. They use the same landing legs. I don't really know if it's actually the same landing legs as in, the exact same landing legs that they use, but it's the same design. You don't need any specialized tooling or anything, just change the nose cone, bit of a few changes on the Octaweb side of things, and you're good to go.
There you go. That's your overview. How to build a Falcon 9 center core out of Falcon 9 core out of a Falcon Heaviside booster. That's your quick overview by Alex. If you ever want to do that yourself. We have not talked about trajectory yet, so I'm throwing this to Max. Max, where is this rocket actually going?
That's a good point. So Falcon 9 today is heading off on a southeastern trajectory, as has become so common with the latest group of Starlink missions. It'll be heading downrange at about, let's see, I can't remember the exact inclination. I think it's about 43 degrees. And it'll be heading downrange just north of the Bahamas, where a shortfall of Gravitas will hopefully meet 1086 in about 48-ish minutes time. So if you are south of the launch pad, say Cocoa Beach or Satellite Beach, going all the way down to Melbourne, and even as far down as Fort Lauderdale, especially with this being daytime, you should have a great view of today's mission. Not to say that if you are north of the launch pad, you won't. Actually, if you are at Playa Linda Beach today, that would actually be a great perspective, considering how close you can get over there. But to answer the question totally, it'll be heading southeast today.
There we go. Thank you for that overview, Max. Let me thank some people here before we get into the loading part of the countdown, starting with Gary Tsukimura becoming a Capcom member. Thank you so much for that. Matt Green with the NSF Winter Gear Fund. Thank you for that. Our Florida people will appreciate that. Snot Garden with the super chat saying, "Hi, all you lovely space people. Hoping to catch up with you all in Boca Chica. Yeah, make sure if you see a person of our team in Boca to hit them up and give them some nice words or talk with them. They're usually, if they're not super stressed the day before launch, they are very happy to talk with people. And then we have another super chat here for the new training fund, and I want to point out that this is the training fund to train NSF photographers and people to run streams to the increase in launches. And now I have in my mind like Max standing in front of a class explaining what a camera is.
I can do that.
It would be funny though. We should do that. But the honest answer is we are always training more people. So there's always more. In fact, Chris Atherton is running the stream here today. So thank you so much for that, Chris. And that's another example of a person being trained to run streams. So there we go. It's already a thing. Okay, let's talk back about this Falcon. Alex, let's talk about the countdown here going forward. How long is this window, and when do we know if they're actually going for the T0 that they're right now targeting?
Yeah, so this window is about a 4-hour window. It opens at 10:27 a.m. Eastern, so that will be 1527 UTC. And of course, again, a 4-hour window. It runs therefore to 2:27 p.m. Eastern, 1927 UTC. And so what that means is that we are targeting right now the opening of the window. So, knock on wood, we don't get any delays, because there could be up to 4 hours of delays if they actually were to decide to do anything like that. But right now, if they're actually going for that T0 at the opening of the window, we are 38 minutes away and a bit of a change, right, to that T0. And what that means is that we are about to enter the point where propeller load should begin if they were to actually target that T0. Unfortunately, we don't have like a feed of the launch control center or anything like that. SpaceX, if you're watching, that would be great. Thanks. But other than that, we have to guide ourselves by signs, right? And once propellant load starts at T-minus 35 minutes, that's an automated sequence, right? And what they do is they load kerosene on both the first and second stage and liquid oxygen on the first stage. And what that means is that the first stage is going to get frosty. About a few minutes after that process begins, we should start seeing frost on the vehicle. That usually begins, depending on the humidity, kind of depends on that, right? It's usually T-minus 32 minutes in the count, more or less. If it's a bit less humid, then it might be a little bit later in the count, but usually around that T-minus 32 minute point. And so, without any confirmation from SpaceX, of course, we'll have to rely on that, but sometimes they do tell on X whether they are go for propellant load or not. So hopefully we'll get some kind of confirmation and definitely no delays into the window.
And then we had situations like the last launch where they confirmed the launch has happened about 20 minutes after the launch.
Yep.
That was funny. That was like, yay, we finally acknowledge this launch exists. This is an interesting question for, I will throw this to D, but also Max can after that chime in as well. Bemacor is wondering, SpaceX doesn't close Playa Linda Beach for launches like they did for the shuttle launches, right? And maybe use this to also give a general overview. What is a good spot to watch these if you're in Florida?
Absolutely. So there are a number of great spots. Depending on the time of day, Playa Linda is a wonderful spot, especially for launches out of 39A. And then, honestly, anywhere along the coast here, you can look across the Indian River out to the launch pads and you can get an excellent view. Once we get closer to New Glenn, I say once we get closer, tomorrow night, I guess, into New Glenn, the beach south of Cape Canaveral, looking north, has a brilliant view clear. But if you want a really good overview of all the viewing locations, I would recommend checking out our video focused on how to watch a rocket launch in Florida. As far as Playa Linda Beach closing for launches, it doesn't normally. However, they do push people back on the beach to 3 miles from the launch pad. There were the actual fence at the end of the beach is a bit closer than that mark. So their rangers will push you back to that 3 mile mark for sure. And if you're going to Playa Linda, I would recommend getting there early because there is a chance they at least close entrance prior to the launch happening. If it's getting busy, if they're running out of parking, that sort of stuff, they might close and block off people from driving in and being on that road. But if you're there, you are normally fine. Of course, they have different sets of hours during daytime or during summertime or wintertime. So it has to be in their normal park open hours. But beyond that, I would highly recommend Playa Linda to watch a launch from.
There you go. Max, anything to add to this?
I think D pretty well covered it. I think, actually, there is one note there in terms of Playa Linda closures. Of course, if a launch happens in the middle of the night, Playa Linda is not going to remain open or reopen for viewing. So mind you, in order for Playa Linda to work for viewing for a launch from LC-39A, it has to occur during operating hours. And the other conditions where they would close it were if they are launching a NASA crew, i.e. Crew 1, Crew 2, any of the NASA crew missions, they will close it for out of an abundance of caution for the crew for a larger zone of safety. Although they have remained open for a couple of Axiom crewed missions before, so that's been neat. Normally, Playa Linda is completely shut off to any crewed missions, so that's been nice to know. So I think for going forward, any privately crewed missions that occur during operating hours, it sounds like that will be a viewing option in terms of perspectives. So, but for NASA crews, they will not be open.
There we go. Interesting addition to that, and as always, good to have an overview because it can be quite complicated to pick the right spot to watch a rocket launch. I mean, even we, as a team, sometimes have to discuss what is the right spot to watch the launch.
It's true.
So, in a meeting yesterday. So, Alex, what I know this question is a bit complicated. That's why I'm throwing it to you, so you can say why it's complicated. What are the chances of a weather violation today?
Oh dear. Yeah. See, this is complicated because we actually don't know. So this happened also for the last Starlink launch. It seems like maybe the Space Launch Delta 45, they are not they are just not publishing this weather forecasts. So unfortunately, we don't know what are the chances for weather violation, or like what kind of rules they might be, concerned about or anything. So yeah, right now the only answer is we just don't know. But that's why we have the people in the field to tell us it's raining, it's windy, it's cold, it's cloudy.
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold.
Besides,
See, there
besides
you
it
go.
being cold, Max, is there anything in your eyes that looks like it could scrap a launch?
Visually, no. Weather-wise, as we were saying earlier, weather looks phenomenal today. Just in terms of the cloud cover and, of course, the lack of precipitation. Thankfully, as per usual with this time of year, winters in Florida are lovely. But in terms of things being cold, it looks like we may start seeing. I think we are seeing some frost on the bottom of the liquid oxygen tank on the first stage.
I would tend to agree with you. It's hard because on this view, the TE is like in the way. Actually, Slick 40 is a bit better, I think, for that viewing.
Yeah, true. It is. But then again, if you have a direct 90-degree angle on this pad, the FSS, or the fixed service structure, is in the way, unfortunately. So I think this is about as good as it gets.
I agree.
Yeah,
Like I'm not complaining. I'm just stating
So
why this
ungrateful,
view's doing-
Adrian. Good lord.
Yes, sorry. I'm just always complaining, Max.
there are another two other conditions, I guess. The other one is that it's a relatively new booster, right? Because it's only its third launch today. Not today, as in it's launching for the third time today. No, but like its third launch overall is gonna be today, hopefully. And so yeah, it's quite complicated to actually see, because you sometimes need a bit more suit to be of a contrast. And also, I'm looking at the humidity. It's 72%. That's dry for Florida.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
I
Anything below
have
80
to-
is dry day.
I
Oh,
have to say,
75. Okay.
I have to thank some people here because there's some insanely generous people coming in here in such an early morning. Starlink here. First, starting up with Rendup Hero becoming a launch director. That's one of the highest way of supporting us. So thank you so much for that. Then we have Miss Daisy gifting 10 Red Team memberships. That's a huge amount, and thank you so much. And I hope everybody really says thank you and enjoys that. And then we have a very familiar name here at this point, Ali Demirci. Demirci, I'm so sorry. You should need to send us like a voice how to pronounce it. With 50 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much. That's not the first time you have done this. That is always leaving you speechless. So I hope everybody enjoys this, and I saw so many happy people in chat just getting all of these memberships. So thank you for that support. It really is important, and it really means a lot to us. So there we go. Sorry, I had to address that because that just caught my eye here. Starship Ship 32 is asking, why are there 2 more numbers at the end of booster designations like the 3 on this booster?
Yeah,
Alex?
that's a great question. That's in fact what I sort of was referring to. That is currently, right now, because we are before the launch, that means it is launching for the third time. But once it lands on the drone ship, it gets upgraded to a -4. That is because it's, usually these boosters already have their own assignments, right, for multiple missions down the line. And so as soon as it lands, it's already assigned for the next mission. And so it's already -4. And that'll be its 4th launch. We don't know yet. Of course, SpaceX has their own spreadsheets and assignments and lists and whatever. I really don't know, to be fair. But we kind of know that they have these things planned out for a while, because on other kinds of boosters, for example, for NASA boosters and things like that, when they use those, they say, oh, on its 5th launch, it's going to be this mission, right, for NASA. And maybe they do a few Starlinks beforehand and things like that. So that's more or less why we know that this is sort of the way, right? We had we had to piece all of these together over the years and the hundreds of launches that we've seen of Falcon 9. But that's more or less the theory of how it looks like right now. That as soon as it lands, boom, it gets upgraded to the next level, to the next mission already. And, hopefully we get to see that today as well. It gets up to -4.
Absolutely, that would be desirable, and everything else would result in a at least a mild shock, which is a testament of how good SpaceX at this point is at reusability. That you would be shocked if they don't land it. John Weep asking here, will NSF have crew on the VAB or special spots for the Blue Origin New Glenn launch? I can confirm that we have talked yesterday about the best way that we can bring you views for New Glenn, and we will make sure that, you get what is possible. That's the answer. We will make sure. I think the stream is scheduled at this point. I say that I scheduled it. Yes. And with that, you can expect about 4 hours of marathon coverage for New Glenn. So get ready for that. We will be live.
Max and I are hard at work figuring out the more specifics and final preparations to ensure we can provide the best views with stable connections and all that sort of stuff today. So we have a busy day after this launch, and I'm sure a busy day again tomorrow in order to facilitate the best New Glenn coverage possible, because that does have a challenge being so far south of here. Is like we can't really see it from the press site. So we're planning up all new sorts of locations and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. That's why it's good that SpaceX seems to hurry with this launch today, because that frees up the rest of your day for other things. I also just noticed the New Glenn stream was in fact not public yet. It is now. You can bookmark it now. It's on the NSF channel.
Adrian.
I'm sorry. I'm a disappointed. I'm a disappointment. There you go. D, throwing this to you. Any news on vertical integration at the Cape for payloads?
I may have heard some rumors, but I don't think I am the person to maybe speculate on rumors. I will leave that up in the air if anyone else here wants to talk about that stuff.
Anybody else want to comment on vertical integration at the Cape here? Alex, I see you unmuting.
Well, right now we don't know. I do have spotted some work on the other side of the transporter reactor. So the vertical integration facility, at least as of 2020, the plan was to build a separate building sort of in front of where the rocket is right now. So on the left of the fixed service structure there. It will be blocking the water tower, if you will, from this perspective, to give you an idea. One of the things that I've noticed, and this was very recently, Harry Stranger uploaded a satellite picture of 39A, very high resolution picture. And one of the things that I noticed is that, a lot of people were looking at the Starship pad and whatever, but I was looking at the Falcon hardware, and there used to be a horizontal high pressure water tank for the deluge system that they use. So they use the water tower, the big one, right? That's for the rainbirds and things like that. But they also use pressurized water for the mist that they use under the engines, so to speak. It's like a smaller kind of deluge system that they use for the engines, and they changed that setup, and now it's clean. The other side of the platform is not interrupted. Like if you were to build a building there, sorry. That water tower was in the way. Now it's not. So yeah, well, I say water tower. The water tank, not the water tower. That water tank will have been in the way. Now it's not. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some work. It's quite a coincidence that they changed that.
There we go. That's your update. And also, D, I think you yesterday spotted some other upcoming Falcon hardware with the extended fairing just rolling by that they used for some sort of testing lately at the Cape.
Yeah, I sure did. It was complete luck. I was out here prepping other things for New Glenn, and by happenstance, part of the team spotted the fairing rolling by 39A. So I didn't even have actual proper camera equipment, but we always like to say that the best camera is the one you have on you. So I was able to catch it on my phone of all things, but it was a great spot. That's a very large fairing, so it was great to see.
Absolutely funny, by the way, in the meeting, because somebody was just like we were in a heated discussion, and somebody was like, not to interrupt, but there's an extended fairing rolling by. I'm like, huh? That was funny. There we go. Let's see here. We are 22 minutes. We have 2 more minutes until I will ask Alex the question I will always ask Alex at that point. Until then, how many photographers will you have allocated for the New Glenn launch attempt? 3? Is the answer 3? 3 or 4? I think we have 4 field people, right?
Just respond yes. That's the easiest.
At least 3. Spoiler alert: DOS might be here for launch, assuming Starship is not too much of a conflict. So if he is, there will be 4 of us in the field directly. So hopefully 4, but at least 3.
And I will continue the leaking here because somebody's asking when patch, and I can confirm that I have just got some things that I needed, that we will have probably a patch release for patch 7 at full stack for the pre-order. We'll look when they do that. If it's the full stack at 5 a.m., maybe we'll release it the day later. But
I love how you just snuck that in.
It's so, because otherwise you're stuck there all night monitoring the website and making sure the orders don't fail and everything. So I'm like, if it's 5 a.m., maybe not 5 a.m. So there you go. Let me thank some more people here, because we are still getting very generous support here. Starting with Random Hero again. I just wanted to say good morning to you all. Thank you. That's a very generous, and good morning to you. And then we have Ali coming in again with 50 Red Team memberships.
More?
How are you doing, Ali?
Goodness gracious.
Wow, that's 100 Red Team memberships on a Starlink. That's mind-boggling. Thank you so much, Ali. I hope you have a wonderful launch and a wonderful day. Alex, what's this vent?
Look at that. That's healthy. That's good. That is the T minus 20-minute vent at 39 a few seconds earlier than at Pad 40 and Pad 4 East at Vandenberg. But yeah, it is the chill down vent. So right now they are, they're just conditioning those lines that go to the second stage. We're gonna have a lot of cold liquid oxygen flowing into the second stage in 4 minutes. So they need to condition those for that line to, ahead of that liquid oxygen load. You can see there, T-minus 16 minutes in the count, stage 2 LUX load begins. So that's 3.5 minutes from now. That'll be when stage 2 liquid oxygen load begins. And therefore, everything needs to be cleared and chill and relaxed. But obviously, things are going to get really hot in 19 minutes and 30 seconds from now.
Absolutely. Interesting question here that I want to throw, first to Max here. Somebody's wondering, Falcon has a logo. Do you think we will see a Starship logo on the rocket too?
Well, I will add a caveat to that. So, typical Falcon 9 boosters that were built as Falcon 9 boosters initially have a Falcon 9 logo on them. Falcon 9 boosters that were converted Falcon Heavy side cores that are then converted to a Falcon 9 core, like the one we have on the pad today, 1086. Those do not have a Falcon 9 logo on them, so I had to add that caveat on there. In terms of seeing a logo on Starship, I really hope so. And I would love to see what other design considerations that they'll have in terms of graphics and logos and just a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we saw the banana and the chopstick Mechazilla on the Flight 5 ships. So Flight 5 and Flight 6 ships, excuse me. So I wouldn't rule it out completely, and especially as Starship begins to launch more routinely, and of course, once it becomes operational, I would not be surprised if we see some sort of logoing or imagery on there, whether it be the ship and or booster somewhere, especially once they begin to pick up reuse, but I'm not quite sure.
Now they have
And-
dragons.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh,
Dragon's
sorry,
going to
D.
fly next.
We all were thinking about that, right?
So yeah, it feels like Starship is still in its fun stage, right? Where they've just put funny things on it instead of like a serious logo. But I would for sure love if they start to put numbers and booster numbers on everything all the time. That would help, because once there's more and more starships, it will be hard to identify them all the time. So please do that, SpaceX. Thank you. Okay. With that, for everybody that is maybe just joining now, because we are seeing people joining just now in preparation for launch, I want to give you a quick overview what you're even watching. Today is the launch of the Starlink Group 12-11, which is part of the Starlink Internet constellation. Today's launch will be conducted by a Falcon 9 Block 5. To be exact, it's booster 1086 doing its third flight after a 31-day turnaround. That booster will carry both direct-to-cell and normal V2 mini satellites, and the liftoff is targeted in, let me look at the exact clock, 16 minutes and 43 seconds. This booster previously launched GOES-U and Starlink Group 12-5. From what we can tell, weather looks quite okay so far for launch, and everything seems to be processing as planned by SpaceX. There you can see the weather data as well. So, 60 minutes to launch, everything looking good. The T-minus 20-minute event just stopped as expected, as they are now processing into the next phase of that loading. So, let's see what we can do here in the next 16 minutes. And I always like to do this, so I will always do this now as well. Max, what do you exactly have planned for today? What do you expect from today's track? I always like to go play a bit of like inside baseball with the photographers.
Inside baseball from Adrian. How lovely. I love to hear that from.
I will fully admit I have no idea even what that exactly means. Like, I know what it means, but I stole that. I don't know the origin.
I love to hear it though. But really, what to expect today from the launch? Thankfully, we have a Starlink mission launching in the daytime from 39A, which is a rarity nowadays. And with it heading southeast, we should have a nice side-on view of the rocket as it ascends all the way. Of course, there is a little bit of high-altitude clouds above our head, so at some point it will have to punch through that to get to orbit, but it is going to look great today, especially with where the sun currently is, and hopefully clouds do not spoil the light that we currently have on the pad. So it is going to be an absolute treat today.
Absolutely, that's looking forward. D, what are you cooking up for today's launch?
So, as far as my tracking camera, it is the usual setup, but these last couple of launches, I will say we've been testing out new configurations for getting more cameras running at all times. So, I do have another one of those running on the roof with just a really wide shot over the press site, the water, all that sort of stuff. And of course, some of that is sparked by New Glenn coming up here. So we've gotten lots of testing, I think, is the main thing this time around and for the last couple of Starlink launches.
We have a lot
you
to
can-
deploy for New Glenn, so we want to make sure it all works.
Absolutely. It's you can always tell before a big launch that suddenly things change a bit at NSF and like things pop up, and it's like, yeah, this is just us testing. Because we want to test. We want to make sure that the first time we deploy gear is not on the big 4-hour launch. It's on something we feel confident testing things out. That doesn't mean that Starlinks are unimportant, by the way. We know them better to test out things here. So, Wesley Webbit with a super chat saying, "Greetings and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. When patch 7 pre-order available? I have 1 to 6 and want to keep my collection at 100%. Thanks, love you guys." The patch pre-order will open around full stack. If the full stack is a manageable time, it will be during full stack. If it's in the middle of the night, the day after somewhere. That's the plan for the patch. And thank you for that support. Let's see here. 13 minutes to go. While I see that Starship Tower there on the right, we have seen, Alex, some minor to mid-size activity lately again on the Starship side of the Cape, right? There seems to be some movement again.
Yeah, they've been doing a bit of work, especially sort of on the tank farm side of things. You can see there that we no longer have the big liquid oxygen tank, right? They've also been working sort of on the base of the tower. We've seen them also moving the chopsticks to the side, probably to start working on the launch mount area. We'll see about that. But yeah, we have had some work resuming here at the pad. Also at Roberts Road, also at the Kennedy Space Center, they have started that expansion to the north. An expansion that, by the way, has the same area as the whole production site at Starbase, which means they could, in theory, just completely do a copy-paste kind of thing of the production site, right, at Starbase, and just put it on Roberts Road and say, there we go. We start producing now our own vehicles here. But of course, that will take a couple of years probably until it's fully functioning. But hey, they got to begin somewhere, right?
I always love this shot, by the way, because it's like we have this enormous pad, the 39A. Like the 39A pad with Falcon 9 on it, that's a huge pad. And then there's the Starship Tower, which is like dwarfing it. So it's always a very good comparison how much bigger the SpaceX infrastructure is going in the next few years. And I mean, you're right now, of course, you still all have to travel still to Boca to witness it. But I mean, 12 months or so from now, you could finally start seeing some Starship activity at the Cape and no longer need to do the long travel to watch that rocket fly.
Yes, it is certainly exciting. Like I will say I already have a flight booked and I've already changed the timing of that flight. Like it's and I prefer to drive out there to have all the equipment, but getting to see Starship out here will be a very, very special time. It is something unlike the Space Coast has seen in, I mean, I could say unlike it's ever seen, but it's also unlike it's seen in many, many years.
Even New Glenn, like next week or this week, it will see the launch of New Glenn. And New Glenn is one of the biggest launches the Space Coast has ever seen.
Yeah, especially the people south of the Cape who aren't used to large rockets launching from their side. Like it's normally we get the Falcon 9s up at 40 and 39A. Like the closest it was really Delta IV Heavy, and now we're getting a much larger rocket, much closer to like Port Canaveral. And so I would not be surprised with like the average person down here might lose track of launches and like they might wake up for a launch on occasion. With it being a late night launch with New Glenn, I think we will see a lot of random posts on Facebook and the like from just people in the area being woken up at an awful hour of the night saying, "What's happening? Why is the house shaking?" Because they aren't used to houses shaking quite that much.
You know, I think New Glenn is also the largest rocket to fly from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station / Air Force Station, I think, in its history. Of course, we've had the SLS rocket and, of course, the beloved Saturn V fly from here as well, but that technically has been at the Kennedy Space Center and not the Cape. So, yeah, New Glenn will certainly set a new precedent and set a brand new benchmark in terms of what launch providers are able to do from the Cape side. And, of course, Launch Complex 36 has not seen a launch in quite some time, let alone any static fire activity until Blue Origin came along with their upper stage static fire, and more recently with the static fire of Glenn Stage 1. So exciting times ahead, hopefully.
Absolutely. It's always thanks to the giant perspective of LC-36. I think New Glenn sometimes gets underappreciated for how big it is because that pad is so enormous that everybody's like, oh, it's just normal size. No, that rocket has about double the diameter of Falcon 9 and is 20 meters taller. So it's a beast. I think
It's about
New Glenn.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
New Glenn is about as big. Its size is comparable to SLS, if that puts anything into perspective for anybody.
Yep. It's very it's a huge rocket that we will see in a few days fly. And well, in less than 48 hours potentially. Which is crazy to say. Have they
So stream start in less than 44 hours?
yeah. Is that making you nervous?
Yes. We've got a lot of stuff to do. And
Yes,
we've been working at it for a while, but we are very close to the debut of a new rocket. And this debut is very close to 1 year from the debut of Vulcan. So it's like almost a new rocket a year, which is a really exciting thing to see.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be a rocket fan. And as always, make sure to turn into the first attempt because I know a lot of space fans are scrap several times, but you know which rocket also everybody was expected to scrap a few times? Starship. Starship so far has, however, scrapped once, I think. Is it correct?
Yeah.
I think
yes,
so.
once, right?
It
Yeah,
has
only
delayed
once.
a couple. Yeah, it's delayed a couple of times, but only once. It has only scrubbed once when they were in countdown / in prop load. So yeah, Starship has proven to be remarkably punctual.
Yep. And of course, Blue Origin doesn't have the experience of SpaceX yet, but never count out the potential of a first attempt launch. Look at Falcon Heavy. That just happened. So make sure to catch it from the beginning. And with that, Max, I think it's time to start sending you off. Good luck with the track today.
It is indeed that time. So cross your fingers, cross your legs, cross anything you got. Let's get Falcon 9 off the ground today. Thank you very much, guys, and we will see you on the other side.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for rolling out there so far. And the same goes for you, D. Good luck with your shots today.
Thank you. And I will also see you on the other side of this thing.
There we go. And now my next question is going to Alex here. Alex, we are 5 minutes and 30 seconds away from a Falcon 9 launching. What are the critical next steps that the rocket will perform ahead of its launch?
Well, right now we should have had already the start of engine chill, that conditioning of the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage. We are right now at the point where also RP1 load should have wrapped up on the first stage as well. And we should be getting very, very close to that Stromback retracting as well. That starts, the process itself begins around T minus 5 minutes, but it takes a bit of a time because they need to pressurize the tanks on the Falcon 9. They also need to open the cradle arms at the top of the Stromback, and then it starts the retraction. So it takes a bit of a couple of minutes until it's fully completed, that process. Also, in a couple of minutes should be the end of liquid oxygen load on the first stage, and then about a minute later on the second stage. And once that happens, we'll see the comeback of the Stromback vent there, just like we saw at T minus 20 minutes. And that'll be our cue that Falcon 9 is fully loaded with propellants. So right now you see a little bit of a bend. It's just, bit of a whiz kind of thing, right? Just a little there. But when it comes back, it'll come back a lot more stronger. That is not the bend that I'm referring to. You'll see once it happens that it's quite stronger than this. But yeah, just 4 minutes to launch, and they're looking quite good.
Absolutely. And that little vent from the interstage is normal, right?
Yeah, that's part. So, the MVAC engine is inside of that interstage. And the MVAC engine is also being conditioned. Right now, I usually call it like they have like two different stages of conditioning, right? They have a bit of a smaller, slower process first, and then during flight they actually have like proper engine chill. And right now, what you're seeing that venting from the interstage is through little tubes that are connected from the MVAC engine outside of the interstage, because obviously that engine is inside of an enclosed space, and so you don't want that to build up or anything. And so they have these little tubes, and at stage separation, look out for that, because those tubes then dangle inside of the interstage. It's always fun to see those, because you can see, you know, how the thrust and the G's and everything changes as those move around.
Absolutely. 180 seconds from now, Falcon 9 will take flight. Remember, this is the one and only, at this point, T0 they can go today, because Falcon 9, as soon as it loads, has no longer the ability to have any wiggle room in its countdown. They basically snipe for a certain T0 in their auto sequence once they start it. So any hold at this point that would occur would mean an automatic scrub for the rocket. But so far, it doesn't look like that. And everything looks to be progressing smoothly as the rocket is ticking down on the pad. At 60 seconds before T0, the rocket will take over the launch countdown, which is exactly where basically it's a complete handoff. Of course, SpaceX still has some abort capabilities should they need it, but the rocket itself handles the trajectory, the countdown, the management, and just checks itself if it's good to fly. And 120 seconds from now, in 60 seconds or so, the launch director will hopefully give the go for launch. But again, Alex, it doesn't look like there will be any showstoppers today, right?
No, and in fact, you can see that vent coming back. That is the end of stage 2 liquid oxygen load. So Falcon 9 is fully loaded with propellants. Remember, once it lifts off, it's going to go to the southeast, because I see a lot of people in chat asking about that. So remember, southeast out of the Cape. And one of the other things that we should see soon is the more venting from other places of the Stromback as well. Ooh, I start hearing some call-outs as well. And that's part of the process as well, the gas closeouts.
Closeouts.
Yeah, getting rid of all of the remaining fluids that are on the Stromback, because you don't want that in case, you know, for whatever reason, there's a rocket that's about to pass through that in just a minute, right? So they want to get that cleared up and make sure that everything is
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Correct. There we go. It's in startup now.
The Falcon 9 has now taken over the launch countdown. Next up is the launch director giving the go for launch any second from now. Just listen in here.
Launch director, go for launch.
And there it is. Falcon 9 has been given the go for launch. 30 seconds from now, we will see that rocket ignite. And watch for the bottom of the rocket. This is where you see the deluge spool up. And you will also see maybe the flash of T-Tap, as they use that T-Tap to ignite the 9 Merlin engines at the bottom of the Falcon 9. 10 seconds from now, that is the rocket. And now watch for that deluge to spool up. There's some water on the pad. There is ignition. And we have liftoff of Starlink 12-11. Delivering more internet satellites to the Starlink internet constellation, and the third flight of B1086. There we go. Falcon 9 in flight. Everything looking as expected as we see the tracking of the rocket. You can now see the steering as the Falcon 9 starts to perform a bit of a steering maneuver in flight. You can see the plume is not really aligned with the rocket anymore. That's normal, that's expected. And there you can see the Falcon 9 in flight after 2 minutes. Already see the beautiful curvation of the Earth as the Earth is in fact a round object.
And props to the field team, because that was complicated through the clouds. It's hand-tracked and everything, so yeah, and while rumbling and everything with all of that sound, that crackle, that... Yeah, it's not easy, folks.
Absolutely. And we are 2 minutes and 20 seconds into flight, which means MECO is just upon us. And we will soon see these 9 Merlin engines shut down. Should be any seconds. They are actually stage shut down. They are not shutting down all at the same time. It's 2, 2, 2, and 3, right? Or is it 2, 2, 2, 2, 1?
It's in pairs, yeah, and then at the end is 1, I think.
Okay.
We'll have to check it out. But there's stage separation.
And there's
No
the
Stubby
cables
nozzle.
Alex's and
Yep, the
there's
cables.
Cables Alex has talked about. And now we can look at the bottom about the trajectory as once they displayed for the second stage. The difference is so crazy how fast it goes up. So there you go. It's already 400 kilometers an hour. That is the
8,000?
difference here. Yep.
Oh, the difference. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the difference between the two. You can see how fast the second stage speed up. And there's your Starlink satellites. Alex, explain to us which are these direct cells and which are not.
I think the direct cells are the ones on the front, and the V2 minis are in the back. You can notice this because there's like a difference in the outer outline, I guess, of the satellites. The direct-to-cell satellites have a hinge. They deploy an antenna, so to speak, right? Well, so to speak, no, it's literally that. They have that hinge to be able to deploy the antenna. And so, yeah, because that way they can have a lot more surface and be able to talk to mobile phones on the ground. So, yeah, that's really important for that technology to work. Otherwise, they just don't work.
Yeah, and it's a very neat technology. Just to point this out, what people like... I think people just need to understand this. This is meaning as soon as you have direct-to-cell coverage over your area, your phone will be able to connect with the internet. Like, no matter if there's like any other mast in the area, it's a direct-to-cell. It's you will have internet in that area.
Well, for now, at the very least, it's with text and voice. I think they're also trying that very experimentally. Hopefully, with the bigger ones that are launching on Starship, those will be a lot more capable. We'll be able to have more area of that antenna, and that will allow direct, like, actual, data on your phone through Starlink. But right now, it's very limited, so like, don't expect a huge change. But it works. Like, that's the deal. Like, when you are in the middle of nowhere, that is very crucial to be able to get some message out, some connectivity at the very least. That is always amazing.
Oh, even for emergency services, like for things like emergency areas, you will have connection there. That's can be game changer, especially for people in need that need to get a message out somewhere. Absolutely interesting technology. One of the many applications of Starlink that we have seen over time. We have now seen ships using it. We have now seen planes using it. We have seen all of these emergency service applications. We have military uses that we have seen. It's honestly insane how good SpaceX is at marketing and like changing the applications of Starlinks wherever the needed party is, and based on that adjust that product. It's honestly insane for me. What was also insane was I think the go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, you were talking about the entry burn, right? You're about to talk about that.
Yes, the entry burn that is about to come up. The entry burn, SpaceX way to slow down the Falcon 9 and also protect it with a bit of a fire shield ahead of the more spicy part of the entry. You will see first one Merlin engine.
Stage 1 entry.
There we go. The flight termination says that was the deactivation of the flight termination system. That's one engine, and that's three Merlin engines slowing it down.
So, because I see a lot of people in chat confused. Yes, there are satellite phones, but those are specific phones that talk to specific satellites in space. This will be a modified phones. The satellite just talks to your phone as if it were another,
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
antenna on the ground. And there's the shutdown of the entry burn.
It's basically no special hardware needed, kinda. It's
Mhm.
no matter what, you will get text out. Max, I think we have your back
Stage
here.
2 up
Was that
again,
I heard some happiness about that launch and the launch audio?
I'm not sure quite how much of that came through. That was by far and away the most insane audio experience I've ever had with any launch, maybe with the exception of one. I'm not quite sure what led up to that. Maybe it was the cloud layer over our heads, but it literally sounded like it was launching from the turn basin down here. That was the most clear and the loudest we've ever heard ignition from 39A, and the sound got here almost immediately. So
Yeah.
hopefully that
Yeah.
that all came through on the mic. That was the most insane launch I've ever heard from this launch pad, whether it be Falcon Heavy or Falcon 9, which is saying something for a Heavy.
Absolutely. It came over, and we also heard some alarms going off right before launch. And speaking of, we also now see the landing
Stage 1
burn
landing
starting in a few seconds now. There's the pitch over, and there's the landing burn. A single engine landing burn to land on the drone ship here.
Where's the camera
looking-
wiper?
Yeah, like
Stage
somebody
2
needs to
terminal
clean that camera. And there's the deck. That is a shortfall of
Stage 1
Gravitas,
landing
right?
deploy.
Yep.
And
There's the rocket.
looking good. Touchdown for the third
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
time. B1086 touches down on the deck of a drone ship. And now it's leveling up to B1086-4. There we go. And I'm not saying this mission is successful before this burn starts. Otherwise, Max will once again tell me I'm jinxing it.
I mean, until Seco happens, you never know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying it. I said scrub today
Check,
2
check, check.
times on the webcast. I just want to point out.
And there's Seco.
There it is. Can I now say mission looks good so far, Max?
There we go.
No orbit insertion.
There we normal orbit insertion. There we go. Very nice. And with that, everything looking good here. And we are looking at an empty launch pad. That is what we want to see. Alex, what's the next launch from 39A here?
Well, the next launch is an exciting launch because it's going to the moon. So, you know how we have a lot of lenders that are preparing to go to the moon in 2025. So the next launch out of 39A will be the sort of stack, I guess, of Firefly's Blue Ghost Mission 1 and also iSpace with its Hakuto R lander. So we're going to have 2 different lunar landers flying on Falcon 9 all the way to the moon. And that's always exciting because, you know, more moon landers, more better. But yeah, that'll be January 15th, I believe, at 1:11 a.m. So the time of day, not great, but very exciting nonetheless because, again, moon.
Absolutely. We like moon here. That's
Yeah.
that's a good thing. So that's the potentially last Cape launch before New Glenn done. Is New Glenn already
You're
vertical?
jinxing it again.
Oh, like yeah,
You just jinxed us again, Adrian. My goodness.
I'm doing this all day here today. Max D, do you see, like, I'm not sure if you can even see New Glenn from where you are, but is it, to your knowledge, is it out?
Honestly, I have not been checking the Cape cams, and we have absolutely no visual of LC-36 from the press site here. So honestly, I couldn't tell you.
I just checked, it's not. It's not out there. So we'll see. I mean, if they want to launch tomorrow, they need to roll out at some point today. I would like, I think Blue Origin's probably not at the point yet where they can roll out and launch in a matter of hours.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a super clear understanding of what their timelines look like, but if they do want to end up targeting in early Friday morning launch, rollout would have to be soon, ideally by end of day today. But yeah, if it hasn't been seen out there yet, that is a little that's a little eyebrow raising perhaps, but I wouldn't say alarming just yet.
Yeah, it's an observation. Can I borrow that word from ULA?
Or a lack of an observation, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, we cannot see New Glenn rolling out sometimes, right? Because it's in the but because it's with the angle to 36, it's hard to see it rolling out unless it goes vertical. So that might be hard. So we'll see. We will see as well. How did you like this launch? Did you agree with Max here? That was an absolutely stunning launch.
It was an absolutely gorgeous audio and visual experience. The clarity, especially at liftoff itself, was like wonderful. It was a wonderful launch.
There we go. That's not the spiciness and discussion I hoped for, but it's certainly something.
We can keep our arguments in person and in the back channels.
Yeah, like I for the people that have access to the back channel, I just froze something explosive in that room, and D didn't pick up.
I mean, to be fair, it's also whenever D and I are in any close proximity to have any sort of discussion, it often goes from 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh yeah, it gets ugly.
In a friendly way, chat. In a friendly way.
Yes. We're great friends, and that is just part of our friendship.
Are we friends?
Yep.
Are you my friend?
Wow.
Maybe not after this launch.
See, it's fantastic. That's why I threw that. I wanted that. But yeah, it's looking like you both have a full day now ahead of you where you don't have to stare at Starlink waiting for 4 hours to go and can actually prepare for New Glenn.
I sure hope so. Yeah, the day is young, and Falcon 9 went off when everyone was hoping that it would. So that frees us up for the rest of the day to do what we need to do to get ready for New Glenn, because that is a mission in a launch vehicle that we have been looking forward to for quite some time now, and the fact that it's almost here is hardly even believable. But lots of work to do to get ready, and lots more to come.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out before I start any rapping or anything, that the next 2 days have 2 giant rockets in play, and they are both, let's say, on more slippery feet. And if you want to stay up to date, check out the NSF socials. I'm not saying this only to mention that we have socials, because yeah, I also do that, but it's also probably the best way to keep up to date with that, because there will not always be a Starlink stream to update you on which rocket has slipped or which rocket has maybe gone ready for being on time, and the socials are the best way to find exactly that out. So we are getting ready for replays. I think we're almost there. And then we will see replays, and after that we also have some slow-mo footage. So don't leave us yet. If you like replays, if you like slow-mos, if you like rockets flying, that's you're in for some more things here. As the TE is already going up again, right?
Gotta
Yeah,
get ready
it
for
is.
that dual lander.
Oh, true. Yeah, it will pick up now. Basically, it will be picked up again and brought back to hangar, right?
Yeah, it needs to pick up the launch mount back for integration of the rocket. Of course, that won't happen until very, very close to the launch. So probably on the 13th or so. So 5 days or so, and then it'll probably roll out on the 14th with the rocket and go vertical and get ready for that launch on the 15th at 1:11 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. I'm just doing this off the top of my head because I'm looking at other things right now. But yep. there should probably be more or less.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we have some replays ready here. I'm not sure if we are ready to play them. Let's see here if we get something. There we go. The
Starting out with
port.
Fleet Cam.
Yep. I think that video is not yet moving. Oh, maybe? It's the waves. The
There it
waves are
is.
just calm. There it is. Look at that. Way in the bit distance, you can see a Falcon 9 moving up. And there you can see that cloud layer that D and Max tracked it through. That looked like actually exhausting tracking through that clouds.
The birds were an incredible part of it, though. Every time a new bird entered the screen, I was just excited. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And it was clear enough that we could maintain tracking. It's not like we were trying to find it in the sky. Well, at least for me, it was just still partially visible constantly, and then not at all, and I couldn't see it again after that.
And that is from the press center, right?
Yep, this looks like one of the cameras up on top of the hut.
You're basically to the right side of the shot, right?
Basically, yes. We are off to the right, also on ground level.
And there's Falcon 9 lifting off. Always impressive. The amount of clouds this rocket generates at the bottom, like that's condensation and everything. But then relatively clean during ascent, to be fair.
Yeah, that's from the vapor of the deluge system. So you've got all of that water turning into vapor. There you can see a lot better with the rainbirds. See, and
Yep.
then as it clears, bye bye water. No more vapor.
Yep. I'm always impressed by how clean Falcon 9 burns. Like there's not that much soot for an RP-1 rocket.
Yeah, there really isn't, especially to the naked eye. Obviously, it's not like anything like the SRBs or solid rocket motors produce with that big, long smoke trail with the exhaust that those produce. But RP1 and methane typically tend to burn pretty clean and not leave much of a. Ooh.
Much of a ooh.
Wow.
So that one, I believe, is my camera that I set up on the roof, sending in a very different method than usual. So you could see the camera shaking there.
The birds!
Birds!
There's so many! I've never seen so many
Audio.
birds on this shot. Audio question mark?
Oh, does this one? Oh, here we go.
And that was the insane launch sound again. That was really, really, really good. Love that sound.
I know I say it every time. How every launch sounds great and how it sounds incredible. But this one today was different for those listening and those in the back channel trying to make fun of me. I know. I say it every single time, and it's on par at this point with the cliche saying of never it gets old, but it's true. It was absolutely true, and today was true, and hopefully that all came through on the mics.
I want this post of Tim Cook with "What an amazing day" but it's what an amazing sound and Mac's face on top of it.
Oh my god! Now someone's gonna make that.
Yes, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, to be fair, it is an amazing rocket, and it tends to produce amazing sound. Like, I cannot even blame you. It is amazing every single time. So yeah, I totally get what you mean. There's the auto track, I think. Okay. Oh, that's Gage. Sorry, I just insulted Gage as auto track. That was Gage. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, Gage. I hope you forgive me. I will not read that out. Okay, cool. That was a Starlink. Looking at the back channel, am I allowed to proceed? That was everything in replays, right? Okay, cool. Then I want to thank everybody that was here at this early morning with us here. Oh, early morning is morning, not early morning. Watching a Falcon 9 fly, starting with Alex. Alex, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and everything.
It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we get that Blue Origin, that launch this Friday. Knock on wood, but yeah.
Yep.
It's always a pleasure.
It would help us. It would help us if it goes on time, please.
would.
Also, in the field today, we had D Wise. D, thank you so much for the tracking and also an amazing slow-mo that is coming up.
It was great to be out here with some of the most wonderful launch audio we have ever seen. I don't know what anyone would say otherwise. This was some of the best launch audio, a gorgeous launch, and this was a great stream.
Did you just say the best launch audio we've seen? You completely butchered your diss. Thank you very much.
I believe I may have said that.
Oh no, you did. I heard it loud and clear.
For the people who don't see it in the back channel, they are also fighting which I outro first.
It was a race to send the message me first. But
I went in alphabetical order.
Got one.
I think from now on we should be. I think from now on, whenever D and I are on streams together, it should be me first, strictly out of seniority.
Chris Bergen in the back channel mentioned, "Listen up, I can hear the TE back vertical."
Hey, wait, me too. I will say
Absolutely.
I could hear the 90-second vent. The vent at 90 seconds, I could hear that, which was really cool. I think also the wind being in our direction has helped us quite a bit.
Everybody at NSF is now starting to see audio. I'm telling you, my problem is spreading.
You did. Yeah.
See, normally that happens whenever you have too much Red Bull and you start seeing sounds.
We are getting all
outro.
outroed. Yep.
Yeah.
Max, thank you so much for being in the field today.
Pleasure as always, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us, and we will hopefully see you in under 48 hours for a potentially brand new, very large rocket. So we will see you all then.
Absolutely. My name is Adrian Ball. I was your host today. Behind the scenes, we had Chris Atherton producing the launch, and I found also Jay Keegan was there. And then we had Gage tracking the launch, which I confused with auto track. Sorry again, Gage. That's it for today. Again, make sure to check out the New Glenn stream and bookmark that when it's time to watch New Glenn. And with that, thank everybody for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Climbing down to ST off. Bring in ST off. It's orange!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? We don't need any more of these.